Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. I hope that by now everybody's gotten their day off started. If not, shame on you. Look, I'm going to be very brief with you. At least that's my intent. This morning, I want to talk about something that's extremely important. Uh, Look, Evan Carmichael has this book, and I've mentioned this before, but he has this book called Your One Word. And in this book, he talks about the importance of being able to identify with a principle or value that literally sets the foundation for how you move through life. You know, some people, their one word is faith. Some people, their one word is love. Some people, their one word is focus. Some people, their one word is fearless. My particular one word is relentless. It's a principle that I operate by, that you make a decision before you start something that it's important enough for you to finish. And then once you start it, you don't stop until you finish it. And that requires an inexorable force of will and commitment and endurance that says, I'm running into hiccups. I'm getting knocked off my game. I'm getting bad news. I'm getting this and all this, and still say I'm not going to stop until I finish. See, that's my one word, relentless. But another word that I relate to is a word that is often misunderstood, mishandled, misquoted, misapplied, and that's fearless. You know, growing up in a Christian household, one of the scriptures that always stood out to me, it says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of amount of power, love, and a sound mind. Of power, love, and a sound mind. Of power, love, and a sound mind. Yet when things get shaky, the first thing we start to do is to fold back into fear. And fear is one of the most toxic emotions there is. It's right there with anger, bitterness, and jealousy. Fear will literally cripple you physically. It will shut your body down. It will make you cloudy, and having an inability to think. And there has to be something that grounds you. And the one thing, when I started to look at the need to be fearless in life, couple of things I discovered when I started to study the need to be fearless. The first thing was, everything I was afraid of, I eventually had to face. It's like the universe knows, in order to get you where you need to go, if there's something you're afraid of, something you fear, and there's a logical fear of it. I'm not talking about saying, you know, I'm going to go over here and play with this poisonous snake, you know, because I'm fearless. I mean, you know, irrational fears, phobias, things that anything that puts you in a situation where you are no longer functional, where you are really stressed out, where you are anxious. It's not of God. It's not of your design. It's not. I mean, if we want to talk biblically, let's go to Philippians. It says, be anxious for what? For absolutely nothing. Okay, then, so where's the anxiety coming from? Where's the fear coming from? It's from a separation of understanding your place, your purpose, and who you're connected to. See, we claim a connection, but then we allow our own reasoning, which can be limited, because our reasoning is based on what we know and what we've experienced. There's so much more we don't know, and so much more we haven't experienced, that we don't have the totality. So we have to trust the relationship. See, that's called faith. See, when you don't see it and you don't see it and it doesn't make sense to you, that's not the time to engage fear, because fear has this unbelievable capacity to feed on itself. It starts off as one thought. Remember, as a man thinks in his heart. So easy. It starts off as one thought. You know, hey man, if I don't get this done, I'm gonna get fired. If I don't, you know, and then what happens is you start to panic, and then fear starts to feed. It starts from being one thought to, and then if I get fired, this is going to happen. And when that happens, this is going to happen. And before you know it, there's this big, huge ball of fear that's got you so knotted up that you can't move, you can't think. Or you're reacting instead of responding. What's a reaction? Jumping up and running to do something out of panic instead of settling in and understanding what you're there to do. So, you know, You know, you look at soldiers who have been trained to run into things that most people run away from. And they've been trained and conditioned differently than the average person. The average person hears a shot, they run the opposite direction. Soldiers are trained when they hear a shot and there's a need to move, they move toward it. They're engaging the danger. And so what I learned is, first and foremost, that anything you fear, you have to face. Some of my biggest fears that, I mean, literally I looked at and I fought my whole life. I worked my butt off so that I would never have to face these fears, and I still ended up facing them. And so here I am. But then what did it do? When I faced it, I realized it couldn't destroy me. That the worst thing that I thought could happen to me happened to me, and I still stood. I was still there. I still had purpose. My life still had meaning. It didn't take anything away from me except the fear. So the thing is, one way or another, you're going to have to deal with the fear. Life will expose you to the things you definitely don't want to be exposed to, because you have to deal with the fear. The one thing I can say with certainty is that the things that I've had to face didn't destroy. Not only did they not destroy me, but they made me stronger. They gave me a center of trust in my relationship with my Creator. Okay, I'm here for a purpose that's so big, I don't even completely understand it, but I know when I'm in it, because the communication between me and my God and my Creator tells me through the fulfillment of how I feel and what I know and what I see. I know when I'm in it, because there's no other feeling like being in the center of my purpose. I can do a bunch of other things well, you know, and that sometimes is a curse, because I can go and say I want to do something and I'm going to become good at it. But when I'm in my purpose, when I'm working to do what I was designed to do, there's a whole different experience that's so grand, it can't even be explained. It's inexplicable. But here's this thing, fear. You know, and you know, growing up in the inner city, growing up in the hood, you know, when you talk about being fearless, the first thing people think of is the fear of dying, the fear of being killed, you know, shot or whatever. And that's a reality in a lot of the places that a lot of us grew up in. But eventually, if you work hard, you really set yourself, you can remove yourself from that environment, but there's still a need to be fearless. No. What are some of the fears that many of us face today that are holding us back? The fear of what other people think, the fear of failure, the fear of uncertainty. And those are the things that will literally shut us down. We won't try because we're afraid we'll fail. We're afraid what other people will say. We're afraid of how other people will view us. We spend so much time trying to be what other people say we need to be and what we think other people want us to be that we never become who we are because of the fear of an opinion. There is this thing that you have to understand that becoming fearless is a process. Nobody's born fearless. We're all born helpless. And the slightest little thing will actually scare us. You know, you've seen a startled baby. I mean, that cry that you get when you scare an infant, you can tell how frightened they are, and it's instinctive. So fear is instinctive, and I'm not talking about healthy fear, a fear of walking off the edge of a cliff. But I mean, even that fear can become crippling if you're 50 feet away from the cliff and you're already paranoid and anxious and all of that. That's an unhealthy fear. You're nowhere near anything that could possibly happen where you're going to fall off the cliff, but you're already afraid. And we enter life in other areas that same way where, matter of fact, a study has shown that 40% of the things that we sit up and worry about, stress about, and are fearful of never even happen. Guess what? 30% of the stuff we stressing about and fear about already happened. And yet we're still carrying it. Now that one blows my mind. It's over with. Take what you can away from it, file it away, and understand that there's a tomorrow. And that's where you need to be facing, not anchored in the past with things that happened in the past. You're anchored by the emotions. You're so anchored in the past that when you're not feeling that way, you feel uncomfortable. You are more comfortable feeling uncomfortable, stressed, worried, anxious than you are with a feeling of expectation, anticipation about what's possible in your future. When you start to feel that anticipation, you literally get an anxious feeling. Why? Because your body is literally saying, I don't like this. I've never felt this before. Get me back to what I know. Your body is literally dictating how you approach everything in life, because the moment you engage something new, your body says, whoa, 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 what's this? I'm used to being anxious. I'm used to being fearful. I'm used to a lot of cortisol and adrenaline in my bloodstream. My heart rate is slowing down right now. I'm in a nice place. I feel the release of dopamine and serotonin. What in the world's going on? This ain't me. And your brain will literally listen to your body and go find something for you to worry about so you can get back to feeling the way you're used to feeling. It's an addiction to struggle. It's addiction to fear, an addiction to anxiety that most people are unaware of and don't know how to stop. So what is the art of becoming fearless? It's sitting up and, first of all, becoming aware of what the fear is doing to you. Fear is toxic. It's tearing you down. First of all, from a health perspective, fear is toxic to your physical body. Biologically, it's tearing down your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys. It's also wreaking mad havoc on your cardiovascular system, your arteries. It's messing with your brain, the physiological brain, the physical 3-pound thing inside of your head that does spectacular things. It's being attacked and torn down all by fear. And then it attacks your subconscious and your mind. It makes you inactive. It starts to control your thinking and your thoughts. There's a reason why you're told to fear not. When you have fear, that's not of the Creator. That's not of God. That's not of the divine. It says God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but one of power, of love, and of a sound mind. So what has to happen? The first thing you have to understand is I've gone through several different phases of this thing. The first thing you have to understand is what fear will do to you. And then you have to make up in your mind, fear will not beat me. So now when you have this moment where you're experiencing it, instead of trying to find a place to duck away from it, you're going to have to engage it. And you've got to be careful. This is the wonderful thing about why I tell people why they get so frustrated in their prayer life. Be careful about what you pray about. See, if you pray for something that you absolutely want and you establish that, when it says you shall declare a thing and it shall be established. Now, here's the thing. Once you declare the thing and it's established and that's what you're saying you want it, and you're literally anchored in it emotionally and psychologically and spiritually, now you're going to have to go through some things that you don't control. You're going to be some things are going to be put in front of you that makes you capable of getting the thing you said you desire. One of them is facing fears associated with the activity you got to carry out in order to get it. And see, one of the things I found is because I had this demand on life of what I wanted, there were some things I absolutely had to face that I did not want to face. One was being homeless. One was losing my money. Because I identify with it. That's what I led with. You know, hey, this is who I am. And then God said, well, let me have that. Now who are you? Let me put you here. Now who are you? And I had to learn that I'm me without any of that. So I had to face it. And then once I faced it, I was able to make decisions that advanced me that I would not have made because of the fear. The fear would have said, no, don't do that. If you do that and this happens, and then you're going to end up with, you know, and it wasn't too many things. I had to come through life. I hadn't been through some rough time. I had to deal with some stuff. So physically, I wasn't afraid of too much. Wasn't afraid of dying, been through some life-threatening situations from a physical perspective. Growing up in the place I grew up in and being a bike rider, riding motorcycles. So I had this edge on me when it came, but the things about life that kind of made my world around me, I had certain fears, but I made up in my mind that I'm not going to give up on what I believe I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do because of the fear. Well, immediately I had this situation where I'm having to face it. So then I developed another thing. Whenever this uneasy feeling rolls upon me and I've made up in my mind to do something, I don't step back and let the analytical me take over. And there's a lot of analytical nature inside of me, but I don't do that. Why? Because if I say that this is something that needs to be done, it doesn't matter what the risks are. If it's something that needs to be done, it needs to be done. And it comes with risk. That's a part of life. Anything that you want in this life comes with risk. Anything that you desire that is of any value is on the other side of fear and pain. I promise you, you're not going to get anything worth anything without going through something. And so that's the thing I had to understand. So what I made up this thing is, when I make up in my mind and I look at something and I weigh it and I say, is this going to have the impact that I believe it will? And I say, is it something that I'm willing to commit to wholly? And I say, yes. Then I go into it. I don't give myself a chance to start to break it down, because again, no matter how much I think I know, no matter how much I think I've been through, I don't know it all and I've not experienced it all. And the answer to what I'm fearing may not even be in my presence yet. So I'm fearing something without knowing the totality of it. See, that's why we were designed to respond and act and excel by faith. God says, I'm going to put you in places where you're not going to have all the answers. You got to trust me. You got to trust your destiny. You got to trust your design. You got to trust your preparation. See, all those things you went through that you didn't understand. That's why I tell people that when you understand your purpose, it will explain your pain. See, all those things you went through that you didn't have an explanation for. It was preparing you for the moment that you're about to go into. And so you're prepared. You're built for it. You know, look yourself in the mirror when you're starting to get disturbed and fearful and concerned and worried, and say, I'm built for this. It's in my design. It's in my experience. It's in my struggles. It's in everything that I've had to overcome to stand here today. There's absolutely nothing in front of you that can destroy you. Your destiny is already written. You just got to walk it out. But so many people balk when they engage fear. I'm not talking about being foolish. I'm talking about taking calculated risks that will advance your destiny. I'm talking about saying, in order for me to have this, I've got to do this, and then doing it. And no, before you even try to develop this perception, just making the decision is not going to make it easy. I'm not telling you that when you step out there, you're not going to have setbacks. I've had a bunch of them. You know, you're not going to have moments where you're looking up and it don't look nothing like you saw it when you conceptualized it, or when you envisioned it. It ain't looking nothing like that now. But I guarantee you, if you stay the course, if you're committed, if you're honest in your dealings, if you're straightforward in how you deal with people, if you're putting out into other people's lives, the universe has to respond to you. God designed it that way. I'm telling you, it comes. And it normally comes in the moments in which everything out there is saying that it won't happen. I'm telling you for what I know, not just what I've studied in other people, not something I just teach my clients because it sounds good. I'm telling you what I've experienced. There have been times where I'm sitting up and the only thing that won't let me quit is I'm not a quitter. I mean, it's absolutely nothing in front of me that says we're going to win. But I refuse to quit because if I can use a religious term, God's never let me down. And that amazes me, how much you can look back over your life and see what you've been brought through, and now you're doubting. You are letting fear take a hold of something you've literally experienced your whole life. No, I'm not quitting. I don't care what's in front of me, I'm not quitting. I'm gonna get it or I'm gonna die trying. It don't even matter which one, because at the end of the day, it will never be said that I balked. At the end of the 10th chapter of Hebrews, it says that my soul finds no pleasure in he who draws back. But the writer doesn't stop there. The writer says, but we are not of those who draw back to the point of perdition. We are those who continue on until the saving of the soul. We don't quit because it gets tough. We don't quit because we don't have all the answers. We don't quit because it looks scary. You got a purpose. And the one thing I can tell you is God's not going to deliver you from the giants he sent you to slay. You're not going to get the easy ride when you start talking about walking in purpose. You're going to find all types of blocks, all things in your way. You know, I mean, I look at some of the things we do. I look at some of the things that my wife does. I mean, Who in the world would have a problem with somebody who's helping at-risk kids? But you would be surprised at some of the stumbling blocks and the setbacks and the personal egos that get in the way of helping children that need it. And you would think, man, I'm coming and I'm doing this, and it's already been set up. All you got to do is say yes. Well, are you kidding me? But you know what? You got to keep on. Because we are not of those who draw back to perdition. Perdition is ultimate destruction. We're not drawing back. It doesn't feel good when you're treated like that. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes you're asking yourself, why? But you don't draw back. No, you gird up. You stand up. You square up. You hold your chin up. And you understand that God has placed something on the inside of you that's greater than the struggle and the obstacle and the circumstances that you're currently facing. The book of Lamentations says that Jeremiah, when dealing with some things, he wrote, these, I look back and I see the things that God has done, and these things I recall to mind, and therefore I have hope. Look back in your life and look at some things that should have destroyed you, but you made it. You overcame it. Get hope from that, with what you're facing. Get hope from it. I want you to get to a point in life where you're so centered in being what you were designed to be, that everything else around you has to bow to the will of God, to your written destiny, to everything that you're sitting to do. I mean, there's absolutely nothing that can stop you. But if you start to acquiesce to those feelings and you start to shrink back into a place of comfort, if you start to shrink and dwarf your goals, if you start to abandon the vision that's been implanted inside of you by the Creator, and you choose a path of less resistance, you lose fulfillment. And there's nothing that trumps fulfillment. It's this thing that was put on the inside of us, that we chase for life. Men chase it by chasing women because they think it's in the conquering. They think it's in bedding women. They think it's in the job they get. They think it's in the money they have. And until they really sink in and determine, I'm going to live my life based on what I was designed to do, they never get the fulfillment. I've been there. Do all the accomplishments you can imagine and empty. God designed us that way so that we can't go off and create our own way. You can do it, but you're going to be empty. You're going to have some things that you say you absolutely got to have. You're going to have some things you really want, but you're going to be empty. If you've ever stepped into your purpose and done one thing that you were designed to do, you know the difference in the feeling of that and all the other stuff you've done. You know it. I'm challenging you to rise up and understand what you were designed to do. Stop dwarfing your goals and coming out with things because it's easier or it makes more sense. God didn't design you that way. If you really just took a month to study your anatomy, just your anatomy from a cellular level on up, and to understand what it takes for you to just live every day, and yet you wake up without a thought and you carry out the day, all of the different chemical processes, all of those cellular reproductive processes, all the things that go on in your brain, all the development of new neural pathways each and every day that allow you to expand your knowledge and shift your paradigms. And all of this is set inside of you. And you want to shrink. God has called you to do exceptional and extraordinary, phenomenal things. And not once in the calling did he say it would be easy. I wish it was, but it ain't. But I tell you what, find a way to become fearless. Find a way to become relentless. Find a way to tap into this ultimate source of faith. The purity and force of faith cannot be overcome by negative circumstances, undesirable issues, obstacles. Can't stand up to the purity of faith. That's what I'm telling you. Start talking what you believe and stop talking situation and your condition. What you talk, you magnify. Talk your faith, the evidence of things unseen. Talk your faith, the substance of things hoped for. Talk your faith, the promises of your potential. Some of you have heard the term, and I'm about to get off of here. Some of you have heard the term, the third eye. And some of you think it's spiritual rhetoric and, whatever. And, some of you may even consider it to be paganistic. The truth is it exists. There is an element inside of us called, some people call it third eye. I call it spiritual sight. And it's in every last one of us. Women seem to have it better than men because men tend to be more analytic and breaking everything down. Women feel, we call them emotional, but they feel. And so they are more sensitive to the spiritual insight or the spiritual sight. And that's what we're supposed to be seeing with, because spiritual sight can look into the future and see what God has and promised and what life has in store for you and what you can literally demand of life, and you can see it before you literally experience it in the third dimension. And that's the insight. You got people who use this insight. You call them seers, you call them psychics, but all they are sensitive to this realm that allows you to tap into the consciousness of God and see things that have happened in the past, as well as things that are happening now that you are not around, and things that will happen. And you have the capacity to see things. You're supposed to be seeing the possibilities with your third eye, not with your physical sight. That's called faith. Anyway, check out the special, get your free disc assessment when you get a copy of Critical Mass, the Phenomenon of Next Level Living. And when I think of next level living, that's so important. We got so many people parked on a platform that they arrived at 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and they're just sitting there. They never thought that it was another level that they should be climbing to, aspiring to, striving to get to, that this life was about a constant continuum of progression, and that when they released that tension, they became stagnant, and they don't understand. It's because you weren't meant to stay and camp out at the level you arrived at. You were meant to gain everything that you could learn in it, contribute to it, and then move on. Next level living, I'm telling you, take on that mindset. I absolutely love every last one of you guys because it's a requirement that I be of love. Don't necessarily mean I like everybody, but it means that I have a love for people. I have a love for people to grow. I have a desire to be an impact in the lives of people. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. I wish I could tell you that living in your purpose was going to be easy, that all you had to do was make up in your mind, and because you were doing the right thing, everything would just open up. But what I can tell you is it seems that the more you try to do right, evil is present, darkness is present, threat is present. But you have a responsibility to your design and your designer to fulfill the promise of your potential. That's your ultimate responsibility, is to your designer. I am going to live in the purpose you gave me, and I'm going to do it to the fullest extent of my ability. I'm going to move past fear, anxiety, worry, stress, and everything else that's standing in front of me, and I'm going to walk in it because I am honored to be a part of the design. You guys have an unbelievable day. Live your life on full. When you live your life on full, when you give all of you, now invest wisely. When I say give all of you, don't mean you go pour off the air. You pour in the wrong people and you're not getting any return because they're not taking it and doing what they need to do with it. And all of that, you're going to be empty, stressed out and frustrated. Now, when I say live your life on full, I mean find the people who will appreciate your gifts and pour into them. Find the people who will pour into you so that you are never diminished while you're giving. And it's not always going to be the people sometimes the people you're pouring into don't have the capacity to pour back into you. But what you do need to do is make sure that the people you are pouring into have the capacity to receive what you're giving. A lot of the times we're taking this massive thing that we've been given and trying to pour it into this small space, and we're losing a lot of it as it flows out because they don't have the capacity to receive it. And we get frustrated, but we've got to be careful about what we pour into, but we need to be pouring. We need to be giving. We need to be speaking into people's lives. We need to be advising people, mentoring people, touching lives, always looking to take the gift and give. If you're here breathing, you got a gift inside of you. If you're here breathing, you got genius inside of you. Don't let anybody tell you that they're better than you. Don't let anybody tell you that because of where you come from, you should never ever aspire to be where you're looking to. Your gift will write a doorway, a pathway for you, but you got to be walking in it. You got to be living in it. You got to be pushing forward. You've got to trust it. That's it, man. You guys have an unbelievable day. Get out and do something great today. I don't care what it is. Find one thing that you know is substantial. It may be walking up to a person in a grocery store and say, hey, I don't know you and you don't know me, but I just decided to stop just a moment to tell you that I love you. I think that the world is going to open up for you. I don't know what you're going through, but whatever you talk to them and you tell them, lift them up. Encourage them. Stop and tell somebody that it's going to be okay. Call somebody you haven't called and talked to in a long time and tell them you love them. Tell them you've been thinking about them. Tell them you're sorry or whatever it is, but do something significant that either lifts the load or gives you the ability to rise. With that being said, I am going to get off of here now.